Do you want to be a better friend to Mary?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, if there's anything that I can fix with her, I want.
Maybe if I'm there, I can sort of say, well, let's not make any decisions today because part of me still wanted to believe that we could all stop, breathe, and acknowledge the emotional damage before it turned permanent. But deep down, even as those words came out, we knew it wasn't going to change what our relationship had become for years. Hours. It echoed in my mind like a broken recording, hollow and repetitive, trying to reclaim something that had already slipped through the cracks. Nothing's going to change, you promise. But promises in this family were as fragile as paper in a storm. It didn't all come crashing down in one moment. No, it never does. It began instead with a single sentence buried deep inside a Reddit thread easy to overlook. Dismissed by the casual viewer, but for those who had followed the Sister Wives' journey from its earliest hopeful days, it was a lightning rod, a trigger, the spark that lit the fuse. Mary was never the threat. That's why Robyn had to keep her close. That one sentence cracked open an emotional vault. Suddenly, every moment of teary-eyed confessionals, every hug that felt just a second too staged, every clipped comment or odd silence on screen took on new meaning. The chaos was hiding in plain sight. Robyn's pleading, her tears, the dramatics. She performed about the family not coming together the way she dreamed it wasn't just sorrow, to a strategy. Fans on forums, TikTok, YouTube, and beyond weren't just speculating anymore. They were dissecting, rewatching, reframing, picking up the breadcrumbs the show left behind, willingly or not. And the emerging theory now sweeping the Sister Wives. Fandom is blunt, brutal, and impossible to ignore. Robyn's entire vision for her ideal polygamous life hinged on one calculated manipulation, keeping Mary exactly where she was. Not as a wife, not even as a full participant, but as a symbolic placeholder. Isolated, emotionally sidelined, but financially active. The perfect buffer. A spiritual smokescreen that helped Robyn present the illusion of plural harmony while living a very different reality behind the scenes. Mary's pain in this version of the story was not just an unfortunate side effect, it was a requirement, a necessity. A kind of emotional tax Robyn paid to secure her empire. And the emotional unraveling didn't stop there. I've had the bed and breakfast this past weekend, and it needs me. Mary had said during a particularly quiet moment on camera, her voice almost drowned in resignation. "What does that mean, Mary?" someone asked. And she responded not with fire but fatigue. "So it means..." It's all coupled with everything else that's been going on and the statements Kody has made to me this year, that I probably won't be renewing my lease here. She paused. "I'm not saying anything about this property because my intention has always been to build here. It's just a temporary sort of situation. I don't know, but fans knew. We all did." It was the soft resignation of a woman who had been pushed out, not with force, but with silence, and now she was finally quietly letting go. And as the shockwaves settled, only one word rose above the rest: betrayal. Not just because Mary had left, that had been coming for years, but because no one in Robyn or Kody's camp even acknowledged it. No public posts, no supportive statements, nothing. Silence, cold and calculated, echoed louder than any speech. But the fans weren't silent. Whispers began flooding social platforms, with alleged sources close to the family revealing stunning commentary. She was the perfect sister wife because she never got in the way. She kept sending money and never asked questions. Whether that line was real or Reddit fiction, it was enough to reopen years of suspicion. Had Robyn, the wife who preached sisterhood and spiritual unity, actually viewed Mary not as a wife or friend, but as a financial vessel? An emotional ghost who remained convenient to keep around but irrelevant in every other way. Fans who had followed every season with empathy and devotion, were now pulling out their receipts, literally. Screenshots, quotes, financial timelines. One eagle-eyed Reddit user even located old footage of Meri helping Robyn move into her home, despite Robyn already being legally married to Kody and receiving a larger home budget than anyone else. It wasn't just help, the commenter wrote. Meri was serving. Meri, who once begged for inclusion, who held on to the tattered edges of a spiritual bond while being emotionally iced out, was now being recasted as pitiful, but as pivotal. The emotional linchpin of a narrative she never fully understood she was part of. And when you revisit those early Las Vegas seasons now, with all of this in mind, Robyn's famous crocodile tears hit differently. Not raw, not real, strategic. Pain reimagined as power. And maybe it was never really about keeping the family whole, which is about keeping Robyn's home secure, her image intact. Meri as the perfect decoy. The safe, silent sister wife whose presence legitimized the setup, but whose absence, emotional or otherwise, didn't disturb the hierarchy. That's why Robyn always kept her close, but never too close. Why she praised her endlessly in confessionals while excluding her from real decision-making. According to insiders, this queen bee strategy wasn't born overnight. It was baked in from Vegas, if not before. The goal: maintain just enough wives to keep the spiritual brand going, but ensure they stayed disconnected, unthreatening. In that vision, Meri, childless, emotionally sidelined, still spiritually bound, was perfect. One Redditor called her the security deposit on Robyn's throne. She didn't cash it in, but as long as Meri was around, no one could question the structure. And now that Meri had finally severed that tie, not just emotionally, but publicly, it wasn't just a personal evolution, it was a direct blow to Robyn's kingdom. And Robyn's reaction? Silence. No video, no Instagram post, not even a "we wish her well." Because what could she say? Meri stepping away unraveled a decade of subtle manipulation. And now fans are hunting for the thread that ties it all together, and every finger is pointing to the money. From the very beginning, sister wives painted the family as financially unified. One pot, all contributions equal. But insiders now whisper that those shared finances weren't equal at all, especially after the Vegas move, when Robyn's spending seemed to balloon. While other wives like Janelle and Christine questioned where the money was going, Meri, however, kept contributing long after her heart was gone. Boutique profits, book sales, even revenue from Lularo. According to fan calculations and anonymous leaks, Robyn's household reaped the benefits most, with multiple sources, alleging that the shared fund covered her nanny, her large house, her kids' tutoring, all while Christine and Janelle were budgeting carefully. One Reddit superfan even broke down TLC's average talent salaries and cross-referenced property records, claiming Robyn's home alone accounted for a disproportionately high percentage of family investment. And who helped float that? Allegedly. Meri, without complaint, without protest. Just quiet contribution. And when she did speak, her words were filtered through the same emotionally careful tone. No accusations, just hints. Painful, weary hints. And that's why her final break didn't just represent freedom, it symbolized exposure. A quiet woman stepping into the light and saying, "I see the pattern, I know the game, and I'm done." But the fandom, they're not done. Not even close. Because now that Meri's gone public and Kody and Robyn have refused to even acknowledge it, the questions are exploding. Why did she stay so long? Who truly benefited from her presence? What financial lines were blurred, hidden, or manipulated to keep Robyn's household thriving while the others were sidelined? Even Janelle and Christine have begun pulling the curtain back. It's Janelle's quiet resolve and financial independence, Christine's public defiance and memoir revelations. They've both confirmed, directly or indirectly, that the money trail wasn't as clean as TLC made it seem. And Meri's story may be the final puzzle piece. Because if the allegations are true, Robyn really did encourage Mary's presence. Just enough to secure appearances while benefiting disproportionately behind the scenes. Then this isn't just an emotional betrayal, it's a financial scandal. And with fans now comparing spreadsheets, analyzing interviews, and digging deeper than ever, one thing is certain: the truth, whatever it is getting harder to hide. As one fan put it, when emotions get murky, follow the money. And in this family, the trail runs straight through Robyn's living room. More explosive than any tell-all, more damning than any confessional. It's Mary's silence that broke the illusion. And now, one by one, the dominoes are falling, and fans are watching every move. This is Star Spill USA, and we're not done until every hidden piece comes to light.
Kody and I disagree on this, but I don't think that he has.
This is the agreement you required of me in order to get married.
Mary never raised her voice, never slammed a door, never went to war with anyone, not even when she should have. She didn't protest, she offered support. She didn't withhold, she gave freely. But now in the aftermath, looking back with the clarity that comes only after the fog has lifted. That generosity, the endless patience, the soft loyalty, the willingness to keep showing up without return feels less like a virtue and more like a weapon that was quietly used against her. Some insiders and deeply invested fans now believe that Robyn didn't just benefit from the overflow of Mary's goodwill. She relied on it. She built a whole lifestyle around it. Because while Mary was publicly minimized, emotionally distanced, and spiritually benched, her finances were quietly still feeding the machine. Robyn's online jewelry boutique, My Sister Wife's Closet, may have fizzled out years ago. But the myth of her hustle lived on, kept alive by appearances and dramatic monologues. The site barely processed orders on time. The inventory was thin and customer complaints piled up in comments sections and Reddit threads alike. Still, Robyn maintained a lifestyle that fans have now begun dissecting with almost forensic detail: private tutors for her children, a nanny whose presence became a meme, and a home valued at nearly $1 million. All of it maintained with a mystifying stability despite no visible income stream. That's what has fans, and now even some insiders, asking the same uncomfortable question: where did all the money come from? Because if Robyn was quietly living off a golden goose that was secretly bankrolled by women she'd emotionally and spiritually discarded, then this wasn't just a case of favoritism, was systemic financial betrayal disguised as family unity. And here's the real twist. Those close to Mary say the proof might still exist. Not only might the paper trail be real, it might be hiding in plain sight. Screenshots, bank transfers labeled family, obscure deductions from boutique profits, PayPal logs marked support, Venmo entries aligned with Robyn's major purchases, all of it allegedly archived by Mary, quietly, diligently, almost as if she saw this reckoning coming. They say still waters run deep, but in Mary's case, those waters may have recorded every ripple. One person close to her claimed that Mary didn't just walk away with emotional scars. She left with evidence, years worth of it, documents, screenshots, even voice notes. Her silence wasn't weakness, it was surveillance. And now the phrase "Mary kept the receipts" is no longer just a fan slogan, it's a prophecy. TikTok clips, fan edits, Reddit memes, and deep dives all echo the same cry. She knew. She saw it all, and she saved everything. Even a portion of what's being whispered turns out to be true. Robyn's image as the martyr, the glue, the innocent last wife standing, could be headed for an epic collapse. One viral post suggested Mary's true breaking point wasn't about love lost or isolation, it was accounting. It was the day she realized that her boutique earnings were disappearing into a black hole labeled family fund. Yet somehow only one household seemed to be benefiting. That's when she allegedly began tracking, saving, archiving, not just for self-preservation, But in case the day came when the narrative twisted too far, when the gaslighting became too loud, when someone finally had to say, enough, fans believe. That day has arrived. One particularly juicy claim ties Robyn's nanny hiring to a recurring PayPal transfer labeled support services. The timing fits. So do the amounts. And then there's the now infamous message Mary allegedly sent to a friend late last year, a tearful voice note. It's paraphrased by someone who claims to have heard it. In it, Mary says, "I thought we were building a family. I didn't realize I was funding a lifestyle." That line alone has become a mantra. It's been quoted, clipped, TikToked, and stitched into nearly every fan analysis for the past 3 months. It's because that one sentence cuts through it, all the betrayal, the imbalance, the illusion. If Robyn truly viewed Mary as a compliant, spiritual benchwarmer who kept giving without demanding anything in return, then this wasn't sisterhood. It was extraction. It was a structured, silent siphoning of loyalty, presence, and money disguised as unity. And while emotional betrayal leaves deep scars, it's the financial manipulation that fans say crosses the line into something darker. Not necessarily criminal, perhaps, but devastating, especially for viewers who see their own pasts reflected in Mary. Women who stayed too long, gave too much, remained silent too often. All in the name of love, connection, or spiritual hope. That's why the fan base isn't letting go, okay? They don't just want Robyn's version, they want the math. They want the transactions, the receipts. And now there's buzz that Mary isn't the only one keeping tabs. Word is Janelle has joined the quiet audit. And when you combine Mary's screenshots with Janelle's business acumen and Christine's boldness, the sister wives narrative starts looking less like a spiritual experiment and more like a cautionary tale of power, control, and manipulation. Reddit detectives have been hard at work, cross-referencing boutique launch dates, real estate listings, TLC, salary rumors, even background items in Robyn's selfie videos. Every couch, every vase, every designer bag in the background has been examined. And what they found is disturbing. Robyn's household consistently showed signs of comfort, financial consistency, and upgrades right as other households faced setbacks. One mega-viral Reddit post, now pushing 30,000 upvotes, laid it all out like a spreadsheet of betrayal. It compared known income streams from each wife Mary's boutique, Janelle's real estate ventures, Christine's cooking content with the timeline of Robyn's major purchases. Robyn's new home closing, Kwame Sige with Christine's cookbook. Going viral, the nanny's hiring. Follows a boutique profit spike and My Sister Wife's Closet. Once launched with bright eyes and social media hype, it quietly fizzled. Yet allegedly funneled tens of thousands during its first 2 years, almost all of it processed by Robyn and Kody on the back end. The site became a ghost ship, but the money, that didn't just vanish. Fans now believe that the business may have been less about fashion and more about redirection, a clever funnel of fan goodwill, than family contribution that disappeared into a confusing trail of silence. Orders were delayed, refunds were inconsistent, and then nothing. But Robyn, still comfortable, still quiet, still framed as the misunderstood last wife standing. But even that image is beginning to crack. Fans have noticed a pattern. Every time money came up, Robyn had a crisis, a nanny issue, a house problem, a business idea that never panned out. But while the other wives filmed in cluttered or half-decorated spaces, Robyn's home was always pristine, matching furniture, new decor, renovated rooms. And that's when even casual fans started whispering, someone's playing the long game. But Robyn might not be the only one with things catching up to her. Janelle, long known as the financially responsible one, is now reportedly revisiting everything, quietly, cautiously, but decisively. Word is she's begun comparing notes with Christine, asking the questions they never used to ask. Did you ever see where the shared money went? Did anyone ever audit those payments? Was Robyn ever transparent? And the answers, or lack thereof, are forming a new kind of alliance. The quiet, worn-out ex-wives are becoming investigators, memory keepers, truth-tellers, not for revenge, but for justice. And this time, they're not just fighting for emotional clarity, they're fighting for their money. And fans are here for it. Comment sections are filled with rally, cries finally, speak up, compare notes. Because regardless of whether laws were broken, the ethical lines were shredded. In a culture where spiritual standing is used as leverage, severing that tie becomes the final act of liberation. That's why all eyes are now on Janelle. She hasn't made a public declaration yet, but fans say it's coming. She's seen too much. And if she formally seeks spiritual release, that drops Robyn down to 2 wives and that cracks the AUB illusion wide open. According to Apostolic United Brethren doctrine, Robyn needs 3 spiritually bound wives to maintain the plural. Structure's legitimacy. Drop 2-2 and the house of cards falls. Kody, he knows it. Sources close to production say nothing terrifies him more than the financial tables turning. As whispers of an ex-wife alliance grew louder, Kody didn't remain passive. He allegedly lashed out first at Janelle for snooping, then at Meri for inviting fan backlash, and finally at Christine for destroying the family's image. But this time, his fury didn't land the way it used to. The wives didn't retreat. They compared receipts. And this time, the public isn't buying the spin. TLC may have served up soft lighting and polished confessionals, but the real story, the raw, bitter, empowering truth is unraveling in real time. And fans now more than ever aren't watching just for entertainment. They're watching for vindication. Because behind every teary goodbye, every awkward hug, every passive-aggressive silence was a ledger. And now, the ledgers are being opened. This isn't just spiritual liberation. This is financial accountability. And if what Meri, Janelle, and Christine are allegedly uncovering is real, then the next chapter of Sister Wives won't be about healing, it'll be about exposure. Stay tuned, because Starspill USA is tracking every move, every claim, and every screenshot. And trust us, this story is just getting started.
Was good. This will be good for Meri. But I never tell Meri what's going on in my heart anymore. It's not actually safe.
Tell me June or July.
But here's the thing, what people are finally beginning to see is that the louder Kody gets, the more desperate he looks, like a man standing in the rubble of a kingdom he thought would never fall. And insiders are whispering that beneath that noise, there's something fragile, something terrified, the panic, the trigger. It may have come from a quiet conversation that was never meant to reach Robyn's ears, never meant to escape the shadows. They say it happened during a stiff visit to Meri's bed and breakfast. One of those awkward, overly polite reunions where everyone smiles too wide and says too little. But beneath the surface, the tension hums like static. A mutual acquaintance, someone who shouldn't have been in earshot, allegedly overheard Meri drop a bombshell speaking about financial transfers she claims she never authorized. And Janelle, stunned, reportedly replied with a single chilling phrase. That's theft, if it's true. No confirmations, no cameras. Just a whispered moment that sparked alarm across the inner circle. That's when everything changed. 'Cause if that conversation holds weight, it's not just emotional betrayal anymore. It's legal, financial, reputational, all the pillars Kody and Robyn built their public empire on. Word is, Kody isn't afraid of prison. That's not his panic. His fear is something far more immediate, far more damaging, the breach of contract with TLC, because the show, the brand, the illusion, it all depends on image. Kody as the patriarch, Robyn as the misunderstood final wife, clinging to unity. But if that curtain falls, if fans see their story not as spiritual, not as emotional, but as exploitive, calculated, transactional, that doesn't just damage the legacy. that kills the show and the public. They're not just watching anymore, they're listening differently. Reading between the lines, noticing the shifts. Kody's erratic outbursts, his defensive body language, his spiraling narrative, they're not about heartbreak. They're about control slipping from his fingers. That's why, allegedly, he's been trying to reason with Meri. Late-night calls, vague promises, apologies that sound rehearsed. A desperate attempt to get her to stay quiet. To keep the cracks sealed just long enough for the cameras to stop rolling. But according to multiple sources, Meri is done playing the martyr. The woman who once begged for inclusion, who waited for love that never came, is no longer interested in preserving the illusion. She's not yelling. She doesn't need to. Her silence, her exits, her quiet dignity, they're louder than any speech. And with Christine thriving in her independence, Janelle watching everything unfold with cool, calculating awareness, and Meri stepping away with finality. Kody isn't just outnumbered emotionally, he's outnumbered strategically. Here's the twist that no one saw coming. Robyn might be the queen of what remains, but her kingdom is crumbling beneath her. The foundation wasn't built on love, was built on appearances. And appearances once broken can't be unbroken. You can feel the shift in every comment section. It's not gossip anymore, it's grief. Women especially flooding social media, not with shallow observations, but with decades of lived experience. They see themselves in this story. They see their emotional labor, their years of financial uncertainty, their quiet endurance mirrored in these women. This isn't just reality TV drama. It's triggering something real. It's a cultural reckoning. One fan wrote, "I was married," or Versailles was married to Robyn. That post alone was shared tens of thousands of times because Robyn isn't just a character anymore. She's a symbol of emotional manipulation wrapped in fragility, of weaponized tears, of the kind of woman who climbs over others while playing the victim. Mainstream outlets are catching on. Journalists are calling it the empathy paradox. Robyn appears vulnerable, but allegedly hoards power. Experts are comparing her behavior on screen to known manipulation, patterns, over-apologizing, deflecting. With sadness, using self-pity as a shield. And when you stack that against the financial narrative, Christine making handmade jewelry to pay bills while Robyn, during lockdown, paid for a nanny despite not working outside the home, the contrast becomes damning. Fans are connecting the dots with infographics, timelines, even property documents. One viral side-by-side shows the financial trail. Who bought what? Who paid what? Who sacrificed what? The caption was simple. Guess who sacrificed more? And suddenly, the whole spiritual sister-wife vision looks less like unity and more like a pyramid scheme. The top got comfort, the bottom got crumbs. And with each passing day, more receipts emerge. Allegations of shared accounts accessed without permission. Money moved quietly. Decisions made unilaterally. And Kody, he's not denying. He's retreating, and the silence is telling. Because if even one of these spiritual wives walks away, officially, publicly, with documentation, it doesn't just change the show, it alters the entire belief system it rested on. And that's where things get eternal. Literally, you see, in the AUB belief system the Browns publicly adhered to, the spiritual sealing of wives to one husband wasn't just a family structure. It was the key to salvation. The celestial kingdom. Wasn't metaphor, it was the goal. One man, many wives, forever bound in the afterlife. That was the spiritual payoff. But here's the kicker, it only works if the wives stay sealed. If Meri walks, if Janelle walks, if Christine remains unsealed, then Robyn doesn't get to be one of 3 celestial queens. She's just a woman left in a broken monogamy with no afterlife promise. And insiders say that's her real panic. It's why she clung to Meri so hard. Why she cried so loud when Christine left? It wasn't about the family dynamic, it was about the spiritual math. 3 sealed wives. That's eternal legitimacy. 2, that's shaky ground. 1, That's collapse. Robyn's power wasn't just emotional, it was spiritual leverage. And with each tie severed, she loses that grip. And it's not just private fear anymore. Fans can see it. Her pleas don't sound like grief. They sound like desperation. When Christine left, Robyn barely spoke. But when Meri stepped back, Robyn unraveled. Because Meri's departure wasn't just emotional, it was structural. The eternal foundation cracked. And now, with Janelle reportedly taking steps to spiritually release herself, the final domino is wobbling. The legacy is dying. And Robyn, she's standing in the ashes of a story she no longer controls. Because the public, they've seen too much. The manipulation, the favoritism, the financial imbalance, the tears that now look like tools. The optics have shifted. Kody isn't the leader. Robyn isn't the victim. The other wives weren't petty. They were silenced, overlooked, sidelined. And now they're rising. Christine's online empire is thriving. Janelle is gaining support by the hour. Meri is stepping into her own narrative. And Robyn's left playing a part that no longer earns sympathy. Her carefully curated image of misunderstood unity has turned into a symbol of quiet control. And fans aren't fooled. They're talking, they're documenting, they're mobilizing. This isn't just a television shift. It's a social movement. A generation of women are saying, we see it, we lived it. We're done being quiet about it. And that's why the silence from Kody and Robyn now feels like fear. Because the backlash isn't tabloid fluff, it's organized. Empowered, informed. Insiders say legal consultations are underway. TLC is watching closely. Christine has allegedly been approached for a final thoughts series in case the network wants to end with truth instead of reunion. And Meri and Janelle, they're comparing notes. Not just emotional wounds, but bank records, transaction logs, dates and timelines. The walls are closing in. The spiritual exit wounds are becoming public exits. And Robyn is staring down the one thing she never prepared for. A future without leverage, without legacy, without control. It's her narrative, the one she built tier by tier, is slipping through her fingers. Because when the sister wives rise, when they finally start speaking, Robyn's voice isn't the loudest anymore. And Kody, it's not the center, he's the fallout. And now the question isn't whether Robyn can keep the family together. It's whether she ever intended to. So, was it always the plan? Did Robyn orchestrate her rise from misunderstood newcomer to soul queen? Or did the power simply fall into her lap and she chose not to let go? Either way, the game is up. The wives are walking, the fans are watching, and the final act is already in motion. So stay tuned, because this isn't just another family feud. This is the end of an era. And we're covering every step of it right here, only on Starspill USA.